Three, two, one, go, Krista. Did you see that?
Let's do
It's time to
it.
go. All right, so as always, you guys, we are counting on you, our faithful few, but we are happy that you are here. Give us some feedback. Let us know. How's the audio sounding as we continue to test this live? Test it live. You said I'm low, Krista?
You're
I
better
can-
now. You're better now.
I can get closer. The problem is
No,
I'm
this is
afraid.
good.
Is it
I
good?
think Donnie did some magician work back there because I can hear you better now.
Okay, fantastic. Listen, you guys, are you excited, Krista? I know I am.
Excited.
Anytime we have any of the Cummings on this program, it's always a great show. Be back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with Buddy Cummings.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm so glad my brother did that for me. I am. Thank you, Daniel Murillo, my brother. That I was like all stressed, right? Last minute garbage, and then the song comes on, and I'm like, So we moved our gym into the studio. I know it's hard to tell. I don't actually use it. I need to, but now it's here, and I will. It's pretty extensive. If you've had boys as long as I've had, right? So my oldest is 22, almost 23, all sports players, and you've seen Donnie, and they've worked out for years. So 20, let's say 15 years of collecting. Like, it's a pretty extensive gym.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, so no, I'm not turning the camera. We're not showing them the gym. Donnie's like, turn the camera. Nope, you have to visit to see it. Anyways, it's been an interesting week. So I can't wait to get into this. And why? Buddy, why am I so pumped about this? Because I talked to you and I said, Buddy, I'd really like to have you on. Buddy said, what do you want to talk about? I said, Buddy, what do you want to talk about?
Dude, and I'll tell you exactly why you're excited, because you love entrepreneurs and business owners, and we're going to walk them through that life cycle to get them to understand that, A, they're probably in a place that even may be discouraging. They're on their way to that financial abundance and freedom that they're looking for. And we're just going to give them a measuring stick of where they're at, and hopefully the tools and the roadmap to get to where they want to go. And I know you both love people, so we're going to make those people rich and free today.
I love it. I love it. Well, let's get into it. So listen real quick, Buddy, for those who don't know you, take a few minutes and share with our audience who Buddy Cummings is, why we're so excited to always have you here on the program.
Well, you're excited probably because of this mug, all right? When you get past that, I'll tell you a little bit about
You can get past that.
you probably won't get as excited. But 20 years as an entrepreneur, business owner, come from a guy who went to junior college for 8 years and never got my AA. My dad thought I should have been a doctor, but I can check having fun off the list. Instead, over the years, multiple businesses built, sold, bootstrapped everything. Sold our last business, got it up to over 500 employees. Sold it for generational wealth. And the reason why you should care and get excited about talking today is I'm here to use myself as just to how do you say that?
You're asking me words? Words and me have
I
problems.
went out on a limb and tried to use a big word and I blew it.
Yeah, no, I don't do words. Listen, my team, Buddy, whenever I get stuck, it's an inside joke. They go, words are hard.
Words are hard.
Words are hard.
I'm going to use myself and my stupidity to show you that business is not as hard as this world. For whatever reason, we try to make it so complicated. And I feel like we get paid to make it seem out of everybody's control, but that's a lie. It's super.
I agree.
Once you understand how it works and it flows, it's actually fun. And I think the dumber you are, the more successful you'll be. So we're going to
no MBA needed here.
No, I think it'll get in the way. I think somebody else telling you what to
That's
do that
exactly
hasn't
right.
done it is a distraction.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I love it. And you know what I love about this is you nailed it. We do, number one, we love people, but we love entrepreneurs. And if you are a business owner looking to become a business owner, if you have that entrepreneurial spirit, then this is going to mean something and you're going to understand this, because if you've gone through this battle before, whether you have achieved levels of success and or you have failed, and I don't believe there is failure in building business. I believe there's quitting or not quitting. I think that's what it comes down to, because the failures in my life as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, were the greatest lessons ever. They were the greatest moments that catapulted me to a place where I recognize that is not something I ever want to do again, nor will I do again. And it gave me an opportunity to have wisdom that I love sharing. This is why Krista and I love connecting with you, buddy, because you have that same passion. Yes, we're still in business, right? But we love sharing that with others. We want to see people succeed. We want to see people grow. And so you nailed something. You said, you told me, and we put it in the description, that there are actually these certain elements that we go through as a small business, as a medium, large business, but as a business builder, as a founder. These are actually signs of what we need to understand to know when and how to dig in even deeper, right? To gain that level of freedom, as you said, or that financial abundance. And I love that word. That's a powerful word.
Mm-hmm.
So help me out here. Let's get into this. Let's start at the beginning a little bit and break me down on what it is that you want to share.
Okay. So and this is me trying to do my best to give encouragement for entrepreneurs and leaders who are, I'll even start at the beginning, like Rigo was saying, man, I want to be in business, right? I want that opportunity. And I tell people initially, don't do it for freedom, because that'll be the first thing that you'll lose right off the bat. But you want that ability to work for yourself, and you want to build your own reality. So eventually you'll get that freedom, and we'll show you how to get there, will be a reality. So let's just start right off the bat. You're excited, you want to do it. And I say the first thing you got to do is figure out what that means to you to jump off the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So many people stare at it, they look at it and talk about it, put their toe over it, take a picture about it, write a quote about it. But I'm talking, you got to jump. And at that point, once you do, that is what I like to call the arena. And once you're in it, that's where everything starts to come at you. And that's okay, because that is necessary for you to understand your new environment, right? And that's the first year and for most 3 years of business, where all you're doing is, to your best of your ability, is kick, scratch, fight.
Or 4.
To get
four going on to 5. You could still be there in that 4 to 5 year period. I'm just saying.
Yeah. We'll get to 4 to 5 years here in a second. But that first 3 years is your ability just to make sure that you can get enough income to consistently pay your small bills and have some sort of foresight, find and develop some sort of niche. And in that particular phase, I tell everybody, turn your ringer off. And what I mean by that is, stop waiting for the phone to ring. That is when you are pounding every call. You're the one initiating every contact. You're knocking on every door, because the fear that I see is so many people in this phase. Well, I clicked the light on that says on, and it's bright, and people are about to come in, and they're about to call me back because I bought an ad, and I'm like, no, that's not that time. But once we get to that point, boom, now we're going to that 3. I'd like to say 3 year plus, Rigo, is maybe what you're referencing. Is we get to that point where I just need a minute. Okay. And that is where you finally got to that point where you're able to make some consistent payroll. Hopefully maybe you got 1 or 2 employees, maybe a manager, some people around you. And dear God, do you need a minute? Dude, you just fought the biggest battle of your life, took the biggest risk of your life. That, man, I could get publicly shamed and lose everything financially, and I finally got to a potentially safe spot, right? And it's like,
kind of, right? And that's when you should know, right? The minute you think you're safe, like,
boom.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
But
right.
And I want to help you understand this too, because I was there, Rigo, for 10 years, where I thought I was just going to take a minute. All of a sudden, a decade goes by, and I'm in that place where I'm just paying my bills. I'm just paying myself personally enough to get by. And I think these days, Beth, maybe about 100,000. You're probably covering your bills and losing your ass every time a bill surprisingly knocks you off your rocker or something of that sort, right?
Yeah.
Any questions there?
No, it's so good. I'm just following on. Like, have you been in my office for the last 7 years? Because I feel like, yes, all of the things, yes. And definitely those first 3 years were like, what are we doing? But I'm here and I'm just throwing mud at the wall and I'm going to do whatever it takes to make something happen of this, because the alternative is going back to working for somebody else. And that, y'all, I don't know if you recognize this of me already, but
yeah, you are unemployable. You are absolutely unemployable.
I mean, listen, it starts out real well. Like I follow directions, but as soon as my ideas get bigger than the person who owns the thing, it's done. It's game over. They don't want to play with me anymore. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. There went that. Not working at Starbucks anymore.
So we should just call the show the Unemployables.
Yes.
That is it. They make the best entrepreneurs.
That's right. That's right. But also too, Buddy, I feel, and I'm in year 7 and I felt like 2 years ago, I was like, I just need a freaking second where like not everything is on my shoulders, in my hands, where like if I'm sick, game over, nothing happens. I need a minute, right? Yeah. So keep going, because I'm following this journey with you 1,000%.
Oh no, and it's so good because I think that it becomes a glass ceiling eventually. And this is what it was for me. And it was about $3 million annually. Man, I was in that 3 to 5 and I would swing and fluctuate in this place and space, trying and pulling levers and doing my thing. But it wasn't until about year 10 and a lot of businesses will get to that point and where, okay, now that next phase, I'm going to take over the world. Right. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was an environment where we had a client who was growing. It was actually RMT Alliant, who you might know, Rigo. Mm-hmm. They brought us on initially early, and it was like, as they grew, we grew with them. And we thought, okay, here's our shot. We're breaking through the glass ceiling. We're going into the abyss of greatness, right? And it's going to pull you out of your comfort zone of what you know. You're going all of a sudden, because I promise you, I don't care who you are, unless you're somebody like Missy, somebody special. It takes money to grow. So you're going to stretch everything you have to add those employees or buy the product or the inventory or the thing or the structure, because you're like, dude, this is my moment and I'm going to throw money at it because I don't want to go back. It was boring and it was tiring, unrewarding. Right. Yeah. So here I go. Then reality hits, because unfortunately, life and world loves to hit your weakest link. And unfortunately, so know that one is for us, the industry shifted, as it will do in everybody's, and it wasn't unique to us, but it happened to us. And our clients sold. They were bought by a new client, a new corporation, and all of a sudden, our net 45 terms went to net. I mean, we were thinking it was. We became 165 days later. We're waiting on millions of dollars, and we'd gotten to that point where every payroll was about $100,000, and it was every 2 weeks. And so I'm like most, like, dear God, $100,000 feels like you can't anymore. But I thought you could buy a house for it. And every 2 weeks it was coming, and they were about to pay, and they never did. And I'm looking to my finance person, and she says she's fighting, but I come to find out later she was spending most of her time looking for another job. Right? It was at that point where you're like, man, this company's not really going to survive. Probably not. I better save myself. And that was that first aha moment of, man, I got myself into a place and delegated something I shouldn't. And that was my finances. I didn't know my own numbers enough. Mm-hmm. And so when it got tough, that person, God willing, was saving themselves when I really needed everybody to be helping saving me. So I'm trying to fast forward, but it was at that point my wife came in and I had to tell her, hey, put your helmet on. This is gonna be bad,
Yeah.
right? We're gonna come in hot. It's a crash landing. And you start running, and I don't know if you've gotten yourself, and some of you in business you can relate. You'll unintendedly leverage yourself to where everything is on the line, and may that be your house and debt and family and friends or whatever you get money with, because you have millions of dollars and they're just about to pay, but they just didn't. Um, and I'm wondering, like, what is the end to look like? Do people still keep showing up, asking for their money, and some people are working on good faith, and I can't pay them, or do I just shut the business that day, right? And you start to realize, like, man, I didn't even bring my team into the reality in which I was in. I didn't know how to lead them through this tough time.
Well, it's because you don't know how to lead yourself,
Right?
right? I mean, like you're sitting there and you're like, how the hell do I get through this?
Well, all you hear is nails on your coffin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like, I'm pretty sure everybody is trying to make me fail right now, but they're not. And it was lack of leadership and unpreparation. I shot for my moment before I was laid the foundation to be ready for it.
Okay. So this is going, and I'm going to stop for a second here, buddy, because this is going right where I was hoping it would go. I had this conversation with a dear friend and someone that I'm spending some time with as he's looking to input some of himself more into our company, into our business. And he asked me some questions, and I'll tell you one of the things that I've learned, and I'm very grateful for, because of how fast we've had the ability to grow over the last 4 plus years, but that has been matching my output to input. And he asked, why aren't you doing more? This seems to be really aligned well. And my wife has actually been very good with this. Like, if it was up to me, you know, buddy, you and we would just go sell. Just sell, get out there, go do our thing. And then it's like, well, who's going to run the company? Right?
Yeah.
And who's going to execute? And she's like, we need to make sure that we're going to be able to execute on everything we're promising. No, you're absolutely right. Some things we don't have the perfect path for. And so I've learned that as well, is you can't perfectly plan it all. So instead of 80% planning, 20% executing, it needs to be reversed. We've come to find, plan enough, get out there, execute. Just be clear in your promises and be ready to make corrections, right? Don't overpromise, because you already know you did enough just to kind of get going, and you need to go get going, because you're only going to learn once you get out there, right? But the output to meet the input. So you're saying that you were in a place where you had no output designed to handle what you were building into it. Is that right?
Yes, but let me go back to your original point of planning, and I encourage everybody just to hear this, is that as leaders, we have to set where we're going to end up. And I say this like annually in pen, non-negotiable. How much financial, what's our gross, what's our net? That is not up for discussion. And after we come to the point in which we agree on it, but how we get there is in pencil, right? Because the second you and your organization begin to diminish the credibility of what you set your sights toward, you might as well just write off what you're all of a sudden your bullets get blanks. There's nothing there. But you have to allow for freedom and flexibility on the path there.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love set your goal in stone, set what you're aiming for. And then, and I think that's a big misconception of newer entrepreneurs, is that they think that the path is going to be a straight line to, and it is.
It is if they took an MBA.
Yeah. And
hey,
then
listen, if you got an MBA, all power to you. I'm telling you right now, that's it. That's all I'm saying.
And it's like that with any degree that you, I have my master's in secondary education. 0 of the classroom looked like any class I took in my education. 0, none of them could prepare me for the words that would come out of little tiny humans' mouths and how they would behave. But I think that where a lot of people go wrong is they are afraid to shift and pivot according to their instinct. And there have been a lot of things people ask me like, whoa, what made you shift gears? How did you know to invest this money? How did you know? And really, I love somebody who put great questions? Was that you, Rigo?
That was me. Did you see the questions coming in? We got one from Dave, one from Gibson.
Well, listen, here's how you trust your instinct, okay? You ask yourself good questions. Boom. You have to have a discussion with yourself. When something does not sit right in your gut or an opportunity is presented to you, if you do not know how to have a gut check conversation with yourself so that you know how to make the things in pencil work for you, then you're going to get stuck doing the same thing over and over that doesn't serve you, right? And so, Buddy, I love that. Put it in pencil, y'all, because what you think is going to happen, you're going to shift and pivot multiple times to get to where you want to go. It doesn't matter how you get there, you just get there, right?
Well, and the example that really resonated with me is we would set this awesome goal that everybody was in agreement with, and we'd say we're probably going to get it through these customers.
Yeah.
And then the first quarter, the biggest client, I guarantee, no matter what, would always say, we're going to take it in-house, we're going to do something else. And everyone would look at me like, okay, that was about a third of our budget, so we probably should lower what we're actually going to do this year. And it was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
We have to find a way to win. And all of a sudden, that is what created the culture is like, oh, shoot, we have to think for ourselves. We have to think on our feet, and we have to find a way to win. And ultimately, everybody finds a way to win because you believe in it, them, the concept, and the numbers. So, yes.
Yeah. Buddy, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How do you stay? Because listen, this recently just happened to me. I have these big, lofty goals. And when I tell people my goals, specifically my
hairy, audacious goals.
Yeah, my big, hairy, audacious goals. And specifically, when I share them with my entrepreneur friends, they're like, yeah, girl, get it. I can't wait to watch you do this. I share this with certain people in my family, and they're like, are you drunk? Are you nuts? Like, who are you to, And so I had a moment like you were just talking about. We're on plan, trajectory is going the right way. And then something that you think is going to go through doesn't go through. How do you refocus and have the moment of being disappointed, but then also being like, all right, here we go. New means of getting there. What is like your go-to? Do you meditate? Do you have a mantra? Is this just something you do? Like, how do we keep the focus, keep everybody else focused, including ourselves, when we have that moment of, cool, that didn't work out that way?
I would honestly have to agree. Initially, there's always that. And I would almost say it's when you're new to anything and you meet defeat, it's very overwhelming. Mm-hmm. The longer you've been getting your ass kicked, I think you start to appreciate that. I am now mentally, I build in failure into the model. Like, okay, we're going to try 5 things and probably 2 to 3 things are going to fail. So if these customers or the mindset, guys, you know what's going to happen. You know this isn't going to work. And that's where that leadership comes into play. Like, man, we knew. We're better than that. We knew it wasn't going to be as easy as we initially designed or hoped for. So
yeah,
get back on a horse.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
So, as you were getting into this and you started talking about where there were mistakes happening, you had made a comment. Number one, and people say this, but I think we need to repeat this. This goes true for anybody in leadership, running a department, running a division of a company, owning or building a company. You have to know your numbers.
Woo! And I'm going to get there, Rigo. I'm going to bring all this. I'm going to land the plane here in a second, but I haven't.
No, you keep going. I just wanted to bring that back up because you said that. I didn't know my numbers, right? That was one of the biggest mistakes you found.
Oh, dude, it was huge. Okay, so if you're just joining, you just called in, we're taking business owners through that sequence of, okay, I want to start a business. The first year to 3 years, all you can do, the best thing you can do for yourself is hold on. When that stallion is bucking and doing everything on its power to make you let go and quit, the best gift you can give yourself is just hold on. And don't get a consultant. Don't do anything other than say yes. Now, what's the question? Everything. Turn off your ringer. Don't wait for the call. That's phase one. Phase two, you get to this place where you're like, man, I just need a break. And you start to rest and you get in that place of like, woo, I'm at that barely minimum place. I just took the biggest risk of my life. And I'm finally at a place where there's a little bit of comfort. And I just want to stay here for a second. Be careful, because a decade can go by, because it did for me. And I promise you, it will go by faster than you think. And just getting by is a lie, man. That's not why you started.
Dude, we're about to go into May, buddy. May.
I know.
Right? I'm like, holy.
And Buddy, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I don't tend to stay. My personality is to not stay. My friends kind of make fun of me that I am the queen of awkward. I'm the queen of uncomfortable. Like, I love awkward conversations. I love confrontation. I don't shy away from it. And so in business, it's kind of the same thing. Like, there's a place for me to rest, which I probably should, and I don't, and I keep pushing for the next thing. And I carry a little guilt around that. Like, why can't you just chill out for a second and enjoy where you are? But I have this like go, 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 go. And so I tend not to stay rested for very long. And I love hearing you say that, like, hey, pause, cool. Don't stay there for a decade. Keep going, right?
Yes. So, okay, I just want to try to, okay, so now we're in this place of the next one is after you've taken this rest, here's your moment to shine. You're bored of this place. And however you get to alignment of like, man, I'm going to take over the world. Here I go, hold my beer. Right. And that's an exciting, fun place to be, because you feel invincible. But I'm here to warn you, be careful before you do it. And this is why, okay? Because I will tell you what not to do based on what I did. It never goes out to life. Never is as perfect as you would want it to be. And it's when you're over leveraged in that place of, if everything lines up, everything's going to be great. Very rarely does it does, and you get caught in your weakest link, and hopefully that nobody sees it. They do, and you will be exposed. So be careful. And that's where true catastrophe and the ability to save it become very, very touch and go. But it's in that place that I would tell you that my wife came in and said, hey, buddy, absolutely not today. We're not going out of business, and it's not tomorrow, and it's not on this payroll. And I'm like, I appreciate where your heart is at, baby, because I love you, and I know you're going to probably be in this shame arena.
Yeah, this is all nice, and thanks for being supportive.
You're cute.
Yeah, that's awesome. But where's this magic savior coming from?
I'm out of pep talks. You know what I mean? And that's not gonna make payroll.
Yep.
But it was so crazy. It was that first understanding, inclination of her understanding our numbers and looking at the bills and saying, okay, we're going to hold off paying this vendor. I'm going to call them. We're going to verify. We're going to get this. I'm going to move some money around that we had existing. And I'm talking made payroll by like change. I don't even think it folded. I think it jiggled. And I'm talking to you. And it was like, it's as if, and I don't know how many of you are in that a spiritual place in your life, but it was almost like I had to be brought to the place of almost broken. And I wish I had the statistic, because it's almost a proven fact of anybody that has found massive success in their life has had that massive moment of like sheer doom and destruction. Right? Never.
As business owners, we never go through that.
And I've been through a lot of them, but you'll know the one. Right? I mean, I feel PTSD or whatever. I will twitch uncontrollably.
I don't think it's one. And I don't say this in a negative way. There's going to be one that changes you forever.
There you go.
There's going to be one that changes you forever. But I think learning is a process of constantly growing. And I use this reference quite a bit, but in health, you know, it's the same level with, we were talking about the gym earlier, you know, before you can understand how to grow your own fitness and your health, you have to max out.
Yeah.
Right. You have to get to the point where you max out, right? You lift to, how do you call that? You lift to burnout, right? That's usually what you do. And however he says it, he looked at me like, good enough. All right. You know what I mean? But you max out, and then you understand what your what your max is, and then you build towards that, and then you do it again, and you do it again. But I think in business, in leadership, in any of these areas, if you are not going through a process of having to rebuild, that is for me a very dangerous place. That means you're not growing.
So let me
Right?
say it another way. Yes, I totally agree with what you're saying. The only thing I might add on is once you've gone to, and I'm just going to use myself, sheer certain death of uncertainty.
Yep, the one.
The
That
one
one.
that you'll never forget, right? Once you've been to that place, all of a sudden your soul has muscle memory on what total destruction looks like, and your ability to be scared and handle stress. You like I know what a bad day looks like, and it ain't today. You know what I mean? You pull your pants up. You know what I mean? Pull your panties up. This is not it. You know what I mean? So all of a sudden, it gives you a new peace and strength to push in on environments where you're like, oh, we could die. Like, no, you're not going to die on that, dude. That's not it. You know what I mean? Other entrepreneurs, you'd be like, come on, dude. That's not your hill to die on. Keep going, dude. Keep going. You know?
I love that. So what I'm saying is it's resiliency, right? That's your stress and perspective resiliency that has grown by knowing that one moment you're like, oh no, we can handle this. This is not the mountain that I made it, a few years back. This is the easy one.
All of a sudden, because it's a badge of honor, you're like, man, then you get your strut. You're like, oh dear God, you'll risk and you'll move and you'll go with like, I'm not scared of that. I'm not scared of that. I was looking at the cliff. You're doing a backflip because that ain't gonna get. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm trying. So the only thing I would say is going back to the story because I do want to land the plane, and I apologize the time for taking there. Is it was in that moment where my wife came.
It's your plane, but hey, it's your plane, buddy. We're just on the ride. It's your plane. Yeah. You land it when you feel like it.
Well, and it was at this point it becomes my wife and I's plane, and she comes in and really helps navigate this ability to control our numbers and understand them and she'll tell you too. She had like a phobia of finances, of that whole ability. Like I can understand numbers and over there, but you talk about me and make it about money, and then all of a sudden, just a wall of the ability. What do I do with my hands? You know what I mean? And so, but she dug in, and all of a sudden, we're like, dude, this is where a business is won and lost. This is actually the control center of the organization, and it was in that moment of like, wow, there's power. And then the next year, as we begin to align out of it, I mean, the good news is that we did one payroll at a time. She was able to restructure the invoices, get one payment came, and eventually everything came back. And we realized that, okay, once you tie your metrics to your organization through the budget, like, okay, your job description isn't to be nice and to put stuff out anymore. It's you have to produce this much by this date and in this fashion. Because if you don't, our organization is going to feel it. And every quarter will be like, guys, we're growing. So our finances are low. We're in the red. And I would be honest and I would communicate on a weekly basis on, whoa, we don't have money to buy that thing and that you want to eat in the fridge. We don't have it. And it's not because we're going out of business. It's because we're growing, because it takes money to grow.
Yeah.
Right. So that communication through the budget, through the metrics, gave everybody understanding of their role and responsibility, how it rolled up into the organization. And then I spent the rest of the year getting them excited about why the fight was so necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because then it was like, man, this sucks. I want to be able to buy frivolously and buy the stuff. But I'm like, you understand where we're going. We're going to be the best in our industry, and our kids are going to be talking about the company that you were able to create and to build. And if we don't sustain it, we don't build the corporate headquarters, we don't build the training infrastructure, we can't afford this and we can't afford that if we don't do this. And if you don't, and all of a sudden the vision became what drove the organization. And the people were held accountable to the metrics that was tied back to the budget that ultimately, God bless, God is good, man. We got the next year, we got nominated and won California or Kern County Business of the Year, California State Business of the Year. second in national. And this is like, dude, does anybody do a background check? Because we were going out of business last year. Like, but it was that ability to like, yeah, you guys made it in that transition. And I think that's what America and the world loves, is that comeback story. And so
Yeah.
I'm here now, like, dear God, okay, helping those in that place and phase of like, okay, I think I'm ready to run. There's a system. It starts with your budget. You communicate that back through, your team and your metrics and your ability to communicate that to your organization. And it's all driven. It's an alignment, because when you start doing this over here and this over here, you forget what you're doing. It's confusing, and so does everybody else. You align that, and I'm telling you back to that to how to help others that are listening. I'm looking for financial abundance and freedom. It's set your goal financially, understand your numbers around it, build your team to understand it, why they're fighting and giving for that. And then you rally as if you're running for president every year for that particular goal, not the task. Get away from the task, get your hands off it.
Yeah.
Let them do it, because we'll all struggle today for a better tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. Buddy, one of the things that you said that I love, and you've mentioned it a few times, is that in order to make money, you got to spend money. And when you're in that infancy stage of growing and building a business, you can't even fathom spending money, because like you said, you're just barely breaking. Like, maybe you're paying yourself, maybe some months you're not paying yourself, and you're just trying to get it off the ground. But there does get to this point where you have this realization that, okay, if I don't start spending money, hiring people, not doing things that don't need my specific hands on it, we're going to get really stuck right here. And I always felt like, for me, that was one of the hardest things to overcome, was that in order to grow and keep going and get bigger and better, I now have to be okay with some business debt. And that's like a really scary space for a lot of people. How did you know that it was time to now spend money to continue to grow? Like, what was an indicator for you, or how do people know, like, okay, now is the time to do that?
Oh, you're speaking my love language. Because again, I didn't have any money. I would drive up and down the alleys at night and get free debt.
I love Buddy.
Our employees, because until the money came in for the commission, so I would make lunches for everybody just so they would have food and wouldn't go hungry. I know about not spending money, but the beauty of, to your point, of when to spend is, again, knowing your numbers, and you can say this person needs to produce this amount of income by this date to make this hire a successful process in my growth.
Yeah.
Because if you just bring them on and say, hey, do good, help out, that becomes overhead. And I hate overhead.
Hey, buddy, tell me this. Did it end up being when you didn't want to spend it was when you knew you needed to?
I think it becomes a natural progression. You'll start to realize you can't hold it all, and you have something else to grab, that you then begin to say, what do I hate to do the most? Okay, somebody do that. You know what I mean? But I have to put a metric to it to make sure.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So, yeah that makes sense. One of the reason why I bring this up is because it's never failed. When I don't have it to spend, but I know I need it, whether it's a coaching, whether it's some sort of process or program or something that's going to streamline employee, an outsource resource, right? Outsourcing something. Each time that's happened, it's like, I don't have it. I really can't spend it, but I have to spend it. And every single time that I have done that, the money came, right? And this is the way that we've talked about this with our faith and everything else, but it's the same in my tithing. It never fails. Like, I don't have it, I give it, something comes back tenfold. I don't have it, I give it, it comes back. And I've noticed that when I'm investing in the right things, so I'm not talking about something pretty or fancy. I'm talking, we look at our business, and when we're hitting a ceiling, Krista, you made the mention, like, how do I know where to go? Well, it's real simple. Are you growing? And I found if I'm not growing, something's wrong. So if I do a self-evaluation of my process, and I can go through and find areas, we do this all the time. Like, before I spend a dime, are we maximizing every tool we have? Okay, because I'm not going to sit there and nickel and dime. Well, we have this software that's costing me $50 a month, and this one's costing about $100, and this is $8 a person. And you know what? That is the stupid place of where I'm spending my money. I'm not saying I should be, but I need to be looking. What about my team? Are they being maximized? Are they running efficiently? Are they being engaged? Are they excited about their job? Because if they are, then they're going to be doing more. I found by paying my employees more when I can't afford it, I get double the work.
Yep.
You feel me? And so it's like when I'm realizing I'm not growing, it's because I'm not investing where it needs to be. And so as soon as I put the investment in people or growth or mindset changes or tools that are actually going to improve us, all of a sudden then the money comes in. It's like it was just waiting. It's waiting for you to just take the next leap in. And I've noticed how critical that becomes as a business owner, where you recognize this has to be done by somebody else, because the amount of time that it's wasting and not allowing somebody to go earn or turn time into money, we're actually we're burning it, right? We're burning time. We're going the negative way because we're not using that time wisely. And that's one of the things I have found. And so that's why I asked that question is, when you made an investment, when you knew it was the right time to make money in your business, was it when you really didn't want to spend it because you wanted to hold on to it? And then did you make that move and then find that you got the return back?
Let me clarify your question, Rigo, because there's the way that I did it initially. I had a lot of gut and emotion tied to it.
Okay. So were you trusting instincts or was it gut?
Well, so let me ask you. I didn't understand what question you're asking. Or are you asking what I learned at the end of my life that is based more on, okay, here's my budget. Is that going to help me hit it? I have a little bit of money to spend. Is this how I'm going to allocate it?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. You know what? That's a good point. I'm asking the buddy that made enough dumb mistakes that's now making smarter moves, but is still being very protective over his finances.
Create a budget at the beginning of the year, and if it's halfway through the year, start now. Where do you want to be? And how much money do you want left over? You know, and then get laser focused on that, because if you start feeling like you need this, and boy, I really need that, and that's going to help me, and all these vague words. If you're like, dude, I need 100,000 in profit by the end of this year. I mean, this much growth. This person's going to add this much to the bottom line, but I have to spend this much, so I got to make this much more. You know what I mean? You start analytically. You're fighting for that position on how they're going to contribute, what they're going to do before you make it, right? And so I get the feeling, and don't get me wrong, I feel harder than most, you know what I mean? But I have to give the credit to my wife. She's like, "Where's that in the budget?" And I'm like, "It's not in the budget." You know what I mean?
She's a little less emotional about it. She's going off of hard facts and what's there, and we go off of how we feel, what we think might happen. I love that. And I absolutely see there's area for improvement in that regard in my own business as well, as truly knowing and understanding it. And probably what I need to do, Buddy, is I need to bring somebody alongside that can teach me and show me how to do this better than what I know right now. Not saying have them do it for me, because we saw through your story what happens when we give up and relinquish all control to knowing those numbers. We need to understand them, but sometimes we need somebody to kind of show us along the way, like, how do we understand them? There was a really great question in the feeds. Let me see. Paul,
is this the one from Paul?
Yeah. So Paul wants to know, Buddy, did you find you had a wealth of ideas pop up from having to deal with the money issues?
Ask me that again.
Did you find that you had a wealth of ideas pop up from having to deal with the money issues?
What does that mean? Ask me that. Like,
the way that I took it was when you started going through the money, hard stops and where you were not spending it very well. Did you start to have these aha moments of how to progress, how to be better, how to move your company in a better direction? That's the way.
Like if you had the money, now you finally had the idea, but you don't have the money anymore. That's how I'm grabbing it.
Well,
right?
let me try to answer that then. I think what it did was reposition position what business was. I used to think business was a lot of emotion and activity. What the financial and budget got me to realize is you have to have discipline, because if you're not striving to make a certain goal, you make a lot of moves and you do a lot of things, but and you try to do a lot of good, and all in the same general direction. But if you don't, it's a night and different game. If you know where you're going, if you have a budget that's tied to it, you understand and forecast your cash. You're looking at, all of a sudden, I have to mature. Like, I don't have that. I want that. Well, figure out a way to get it done, because you either sell another $100,000, or, I mean, if you're 10% profit, or just go cut 10%. You know what I mean? It just made me think totally different. You know what I mean? So yes, it changed and once I went to a budget, and goal and vision, perspective to business, I mean, it's like, you want to make money, you want to go run it from the budget, run it from your vision.
You know what's funny is, but you said something here that actually clicked with me, and it's not that we don't run or we don't have a budget, but thinking about it that way. And again, this is where we have to have the mind shift. Maybe this is where the NBA finally plays into play. This is where that guy, that gal that has taken the time to understand we're not running a personal budget. You talked about having to get into business debt, Krista. Mm-hmm. It's not debt in business if you're looking at it in the right, it's investment, and it's what you need in order to get to where you want to go. If I want to hit $1 million mark this year, then we work backwards. If each of my clients is worth $10,000, how many clients do I need to hit $1 million in revenue? If each of my clients are a 50% cost margin, then what do I need? If my overhead is $500,000, then what do I need? If I want to have money at the end of the year, if I do my math and I look that I'm 200,000 under, then I need to do something. Lower my overhead, raise my pricing, right? I need to change my formula, change my service offering, bring something else to the market that's going to get me where I want to go. And I love of what you're saying right now, buddy, because this is critical. And how many of us get into it in that point, like we talked about in the beginning of the program, you get excited when you start a business for the first time. You can plan as much as you want, but everything changes. And I hear this all the time. Like, I'm doing something different, or I'm not even going in the direction that we wanted to go. When we started MW Partners, we had a vision. Where we're going, I could have never guessed that this is where we were going to be. But you know what? I love where it's going, and it's rooted in the seeds that we planted almost 5 years ago as we were getting ready to bring this out. But I needed to go through that process. But I could tell you this. I did not look at how do I get there is in that detail, buddy. I didn't look at, I'm going to build a revenue budget, a goal marker that says I want to make $1 million. Now, how do I get there? So when you're saying, oh, this changed, we're not going to hit the number. No, we set the number. The number doesn't change. It's still $1 million. Our goal is to figure out, how do we change what we're doing now to still get to that number, regardless of what changed in the process. Is that right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Whoa.
Boom.
And basically what I'm also getting out of this is I need a Nikki.
Everyone needs a Nikki.
Everybody needs a Nikki.
But
yeah. I don't know if we're all going to get that lucky.
I want to highlight these. I want to highlight these three things because, yes, a budget is phenomenal, but I think it's because that's the what, the vision, your plan is the how, right? Mm-hmm. Because I think when you'll be like, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do it this way. All of a sudden you burn time and confidence and money and resources. So you need to get what you want, your $1 million. You need to figure out collectively with your team, and now those real rude, like the awkward conversations that Krista was talking about. Like, are we really going to be able to add that many clients that way? That sounds a little far-fetched. You know what I mean? Like, okay, that would probably be weird. Okay, let's think about it again. Okay, so get a good plan, because that's what's going to align your budget. And is okay, if you're going to do this, this is your metrics, and we're going to look at it on a monthly basis. I looked at it on a bi-weekly basis. We'd all come in the room. It's red or green. Met, not met. We would all sit in a conference room and be like, it was red or green. And it's just like, ooh, And we would have a few meetings and be like, this guy hasn't met his metrics in a couple months. No one says anything. I don't say anything. And someone whispers to me, he's not going to make it here very long. Right?
Yeah.
He's one of us. Right? And you're like, boom.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the rest of the year, every week, I'm on a weekly basis, 3 minutes telling them, this is what we stand for, guys. I see you. I appreciate you. This is where we're going. This is why it's important. And why I do it every week is because everybody gets distracted. They forget. They lose hope. They lose sight. They lose whatever. Every week, 3 minutes. It's not a house.
Well, like you said, buddy, you're reminding them why the fight is necessary. And I wrote that down. That's important.
No,
you said something powerful there. Why is the fight necessary? I mean, you got to understand this, right? If you're going into battle, we're following a leader there. And you have to understand why it's necessary. It's not always just about taking commands. And that's one of the things I think as a small business, you can easily get people to rally around because it's very personal. But as you grow, you got to a point with 500 employees at a certain level.
Yeah. And again, it was like once. So what we did was I those who can relate, because we were mobile, remote, is I had to do it on my cell phone, but I would do a 3 to 5 minute video once a week. Hey, I see you. I appreciate you. Find somebody else. Tell me what they're doing good. I want to recognize them. Here's where we're going. Here's what we're doing. I thought nobody would listen to it. Over 95%, 98% of the organization would pop it up and look at it. They'd give it to their family, show their family, this is what I'm a part of. This is what I'm doing. It would help with recruiting. This is where I'm working, right? And so it was just because once everybody felt like they were following a leader who cared about them on a consistent basis, all of a sudden, I mean, because again, I see an employee is the most expensive asset that most of us have. And if they're showing up without their heart, without their decision-making, without the understanding, like, dude, you're wasting your money. And a big part of it, you're shooting bullets that don't have a lot of force behind it, So that's why I say, not only get a good budget and run it through it, get a good plan, make sure you're efficient with it, rally your team on a weekly basis to make sure that they're aligned in it, man. You want them showing up excited.
Such a good plan.
I love it, buddy. Listen, we're going to have to recap this again. And first off, you are the man. You're a scholar and a gentleman. I thank you very much for coming in here last minute for me and Krista. Yeah. Thank you, no, I mean, that's one of the things I love about you and your wife is simply that when I'm like, I don't know where I'm going today. I'm spinning. I'm running around. I'm packing bags. We need to have Buddy on for 2 hours. No kidding. And I'm like, I'm on a plane today and flying to Oregon for an event this weekend. If you guys caught Coach Kevin a couple weeks ago, that guy. So I'm going to an event with Coach Kevin this weekend called Ignition. So anyways, he's going to crawl his 6 foot, 3 inch, 4 inch, 300 plus pound person up me. And I'm going to go experience that. So I was like, let's do it. Yeah. So if anybody's ever been involved with this type of, especially you men out there, if you've ever been in a men's group where they hold no punches, then you'll know what I'm in for. So anyways, I'm packing, getting ready for that. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do today? And I'm like, I know who will want to have a conversation. Buddy, what are you doing?
That's what we're going to do.
He's like, let's do it. Yeah. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, seriously. And for those of you guys who show up here every week and become a part of this, that means everything to us. And I really want to bring that out there. Listen, for those of you who are watching, please let us know what you think, share, and continue to comment. Let us know what it is that you want to hear about, who from. We're always happy to bring guests back. We love, folks like Buddy and Nikki that come in and share their just abundance wealth. But Buddy, I would really like to come back to this. Let's put this down on paper. Let's get this down in some steps, and let's come back and bring this in as a great program for the folks that are out there. And I think that this is great. And for those of you who have not already started doing this, do me a favor. You can find Buddy and Donnie. Let's get his link posted. You can find out about Buddy and Nikki and what they're doing with Cummings Camp. And we'll drop it in the description so that you can find it. And also with what Krista and I are doing. And if you have not already started following our pages or this program, do us a favor and get on our YouTube and like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. You guys know how this works. And that way you know when it's coming and when we go live. We do this every week. Listen, I'm taking like a super late flight for you guys. I'm just throwing that out there. I could have taken an earlier one, but I wouldn't have been able to do the show.
Right.
Instead, I fly in at midnight, okay? So
you're a giver, Rico. We receive it. We appreciate it.
I'm committed. I'm just like, man, this is going to suck. But I love it, and I love being here, and I'm glad you guys are here. So anyways, again, another round of applause for Buddy Cummings. Thank you so much for showing up today, buddy.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, Krista.
Thank you.
Yeah. Listen, my fiery, likes the awkward conversation co-host couldn't do this without Krista. Oh man, they were just going for you.
Yeah, they were wild today.
Yeah, they were wild. So anyways, listen, all right, you guys, thank you for being here. Another episode of Lunch Talk in our Contagious Leadership Program. We want to hear from you. Let us know what you want to talk about, what you want to dive into. We have guests coming up in the following weeks. In the month of May is going to be fun. There's going to be some stuff we're going to announce. Krista, we'll have to follow up you and I and see if we got some of those confirmed. But we have some great things coming. Buddy, again, thank you very much. You guys follow our stuff in the links. That way you can see what we're doing. Otherwise, I'll see you next Thursday, 1 o'clock Central Time, every week. Rain or shine, we'll be here. You guys, God bless. Thank you so much for being here. And we'll talk to you next week.